Imagine being responsible for 360,000 buildings, a fleet of 650,000 vehicles, and an annual budget of $445 billion. Would you please welcome to the stage the United States Chief Federal Sustainability Officer, Christine Harada.
For President Obama, this task is paramount to his overall climate action goals. And in our perspective, it's very simple. How can the federal government inspire the American businesses and everyday Americans to be proactive about saving energy and reducing dangerous carbon emissions if we're not willing to make a public commitment to take the lead? And so when the President signed the executive order last March, he declared that the federal government must lead by example, and that is what my office works to achieve each and every day. The Council on Environmental Quality is charged with implementing the goals of the President's executive order, which requires the federal government to dramatically reduce our emissions from its operations, increase use of renewable and clean energy sources, and green our supply chain. The issue that my office focuses on is one of the most important of this next generation, and that's finding a way to combat climate change and to leave this planet thriving and sustainable for the generations to come. This is obviously a huge undertaking, but for the Obama administration, one of the most important first steps was focused in-house. After all, the greatest user of energy in this country is the federal government. Again, given the size of our operations, we are the #1 procurer of energy, we are the #1 user of energy, and that's why federal sustainability is such a big part of the President's overall climate plan. Fighting climate change requires an all-hands-on-deck approach, and there's no one person or organization that can create the change in a vacuum. And that's why we are committed to working directly with manufacturers, business leaders, NGOs, and other stakeholders to support the development of sustainability-focused innovation. I firmly believe that cross-organizational collaboration is absolutely paramount to enacting sustainable policies. And that's a key reason why we work to engage with stakeholders early and often in the pursuit of sustainable policies, both in the national, international, and regional levels. We want to leave behind a cleaner, a more sustainable planet for our kids and for the generations to come. And I think it's a worthwhile goal for all of our stakeholders, and candidly, it's what keeps everybody focused with eyes on the prize. The good news is that we're seeing the rewards of the President's Climate Action Plan, both in the federal government and for the country as a whole. As recently as the 2010 Climate Action Report, U.S. emissions have been projected to grow indefinitely. But under this President's leadership, emissions are down 10% below 2005 levels, and we're expected to keep declining from there. And in fact, in 2015, carbon dioxide emissions from the energy sector were down by 12% from 2005. And that's as a result from the policies we've put in place since this administration began, and overall energy consumption has declined even as the economy has expanded by 13% since 2008. You came because you want to be inspired. You came because you want to be a change maker. You came because you want to lead, not 20 years, but right now. And I think the great news is you don't have to wait until you have a job like mine to create the change that you seek. I think the sustainability world is ripe for an influx of new ideas, new innovations, new leaders to take the fight for climate action into the next stage of this race. In this room, I'm super excited to be with a bunch of future policymakers, scientists, engineers, civic leaders who will be taking the baton from my generation and continue to run the race that we've started. And again, that work doesn't have to wait until you get your next degree or the job, et cetera, that you've been dreaming about. I'd like to encourage you to use this summit as your inspiration to go home and change the world. You can do it from your college campus, you can do it from your parents' basement. In this new world of technology and innovation, the very fact that you're here tells me everything that I need to know about each and every one of you, and that's with a simple click of a mouse, you can help inspire change. You already have a lot of the tools at your fingertips, whether you believe it or not. And based on all the faces in the crowd today, looks like you also have a pretty good-sized army. Take the baton, show the world why this is the next generation to be great.